Welcome to the CompCalc Training and Support video series for Windows 10 users. This is the final lecture in the three-part training video series, Rating with the CompCalc. Additional training videos include basic features and functions and advanced tips and techniques. The developer of the CompCalc, author of the work Comp Index, and instructor during this presentation is Mr. Richard Montalbo. Let's join Mr. Montalbo for the final video in this three-part lecture series, Rating with the CompCalc.
Welcome to the CompCalc Plus 2017 support and training videos. My name is Richard Montalbo, and for the next 8 to 12 minutes, I'll be providing you with an overview and hopefully a thorough understanding of rating with the CompCalc. The rating module is perhaps the single best use of the CompCalc. This is where the CompCalc shines. By now, you should have already reviewed the CompCalc support video, basic features and functions, as well as advanced tips and techniques. But it's really the CompCalc rating module that makes the CompCalc so useful. What used to take, I'll just be frank with you. I never have rated anything without at least going through my string line twice, if not 3 times. Because you're apt to read the wrong line or go to the wrong page or write down the wrong number and screw your entire rating string up. I mean, who hasn't done that? If you say that you haven't, I want to meet you. Send me an email, call me, because I'm just going to probably call you either the luckiest person in the world or a BSer. The CompCalc, though, does what allows a computer to do what computers do best, which is repetition, repetition, repetition for accuracy. Let's go ahead and go through it, and you're going to see, hopefully, what I mean by this. Again, I'll be using my new Surface Note with a touch screen. I'm going to go ahead and double tap on that and go into the CompCalc. We go into the PD rating module, and that's the first icon at the top, left-hand side. We're going to go ahead and input some information. The first thing that I want you to realize about the CompCalc rating module is we have the PD rating manual / schedule, but we also have the combined value equation. Now, although the PD rating schedule has the combined value for multiple rating strings available down here, what I did was I added just a combined value equation module so that you could add a number of lines to this and play with what if. Okay? Let's go back and we'll do our first rating. Be aware of that, though, that is part of the CompCalc Plus and that it can be useful. I'll go through that in a little greater detail in just a few moments. Let's start out with taking a look at what the inputs are. Of course, we have to have our date of birth. We have to have the date of injury. We have to have the whole person impairment. We have to have the industrial apportionment. Here we have it set for 100%. We have the part of body, and these are all the general parts of body, all the different regions per the schedule. Then depending on what we select over here, we have I built an array, a relational database. It's indexed so that once you select something on this side, it is limiting what you might be able to put on the other side to that general part of body. Your detailed part of body are limited to that general part of body. So it's relational. It makes it so intuitive, so much easier to use. Another feature that I want you to be aware of is that we have a search engine on these. Let's say you want over here, you're not sure if it's back. Let's see. Nope, there's no back. Maybe it's called spine. Oh, there's a spine. And now we've selected spine. Now within spine, you're not sure. Is it low back? No, there's no low back. Could it be lumbar? Yes. And here are all the lumbar. Let's select for our rating the DRE, diagnosis related estimate. Let's move on to occupation, occupational industry, and occupation. We click on occupational industry, and here's an alphabetized list of all the occupational industries within the state of California. And they're all alphabetized. Okay? If you select any or all, you're going to receive on the occupation all of the occupations alphabetized. And what makes this nice is, let's say you want to know mechanics. You're not sure what the industry is. You type in mechanic. Right here are all the mechanics from the schedule by way of occupations. Okay? And it's relational. So if we go to bakery, here are all the bakery occupations. I'm just double clicking. Now I've closed everything out. But what happens if you want to see the groups? Because now we have occupational industries and we have the occupations within that industry as selected. But what if you wanted to fiddle with the groups? Well, guess what? The CompCalc has that set up for you as well. Let's say that I wanted, and let me go back so you can see what I did there. That's important. So we're at occupations, occupational industries. Here are all the industries. For bakery, here are all the occupations within that. But if we put my pointer on the occupational industry, flashes up, click. Let's go back there, and so it'll flash up. Click to flip to occupational group. If you go over here, what's it say? Click to flip to occupational group. So we click, and now we're within the groups. These are all of the up to 590, up to group 590 occupational groups. But here's what's really neat, that nobody has done this. Let's say that I wanted all the clerks, all the groups that have clerk in their description. Well, guess what? The CompCalc Plus does it for you. It goes from group 110 all the way up to 360. Double click on that, and you've just modified your rating string. Okay, let's go ahead and let's do a standard rating. Let's say that we have a March 31st, 1979 for the applicant's date of birth. Okay? Then we have a February 3rd, 2013 date of entry. Okay, we have that, so I'm going to hit the check mark. I didn't mention that on the date of birth, but to get that date of birth, we're going to change it to April so you can see. April 30th, 1979, I hit the check mark. Okay? And it's just adjusted everything for that. But let's say it's a DRE 3 13% standard. I'm just going to go ahead and realize this. When we wrote the algorithm, we made it bidirectional, meaning that you can input any single number and it'll automatically calculate the entire rating string. You don't have to wipe it out and then start anew. It's going to take care of you in that regard. Let's say that on this back, it's 80% industrial. Go up to 80% industrial, and look at what it did. It took 0.8 of a 19, adjusted it, rounded it up to 15% PD. It then takes the average weekly wage, if we put it in, or right now it's assuming max of $230, which is the max for a 2013 date of injury. At 15%, we have the combined value on, but it doesn't matter because we only have one rating string, right? 15%, that equals $11,615. Okay, so we have our first rating string done. But what happens if we need to go ahead and add to that a second rating string? Let's go ahead and do that. A second rating string, we go up to our pull-down menu. Remember that in the basic features and functions? You've got 3 dots over here, or you can pull it down by tapping anywhere along that gray bar. We're going to edit, and we're going to add a second rating string. Now watch what happens. It's going to duplicate this rating string. Why? Because there's only some things that I want to input on the second rating string, but not all of it. I'm going to what? Change probably apportionment, or maybe apportionment. I'm going to change whole person impairment. I'm going to change part of body. But date of injury, date of birth, and occupation are going to remain the same. So why would I want to start anew and have to input everything again? I'm going to duplicate that rating string. I'm going to change, first of all, it says 0.8. There's no apportionment because this is an upper extremity. So I'm going to roll it to 100%. Okay, we took away the apportionment. Then I'm going to change the part of body. And let's say it's a peripheral neuropathy, upper extremity, brachial plexy or something like that. Yep, there we go. Okay. Closing everything out to keep it clean so you can see where I am. And of course the occupation remains the same. So now I have, oh, but hold it, the whole person impairment. Let's say it's only 9% whole person impairment. It automatically adjusts it. You end up with that 9 goes up to a 14, and 14 and 15 equal 29. But hold it, we have two rating strings here. So we need the combined value equation to apply. That knocks it down to 27%, and that equals $32,697.50, which is assuming a max PD given the date of entry of 2015. But what if we have an average weekly wage of less than $435? Let's say we have an average weekly wage of $300. Now I'm using round numbers here so you can see how it's automatically. If the CompCalc is working correctly, the rate should change to $200, and because we're reducing it by what, 25%, this should be somewhere around what, 24,000. I'm just doing this off the top of my head. Let's see how close I am. It's 22,550. It's 27%. It went from $300 on average weekly wage down to $200 for the PD rate, and it took the amount down to $22,550. Okay? So those are the basic features of rating with the CompCalc. But now that we have our rating strings and we've changed our average weekly wage, let's just try one more variable. Let's say that you don't know the average weekly wage, but you do know the PD rate. Let's say the PD rate is $185, okay? Now look what it did. It automatically gave you the average weekly wage to produce that PD rate, but it automatically, because we reduced it, right? It was 200, now it's 185. It reduced the amount even further based on a 27% award. It reduced it down to $20,000, $858.75. Now, so you have your rating strings, you have it in the computer. What do you do with it now? Well, there are two things that you can do with it. The first thing that you can do is you go to File. Actually, three things. First thing you might want to do is you might want to save it. And let's say that this guy's name is Sammy. And let's say that the doctor's name is, let's go with Lipton. How's that, huh? And let's say that the date of Dr. Lipton's report is October 27th, 2013. And let's say it's let's say the case number is ADJ 1104679, whatever. And let's say that we want some notes here. We want to say this is the Guzman. No, because we used standard rating, didn't we? This is the standard rating of Lipton's report with CVE, with combined value equation. Okay? And now we're going to save this away. So we just saved that away. Now I'm going to go in File. We're going to go to Edit. I'm going to clear all inputs. So everything's gone. Okay? We go back to our baseline, which is always the heart, right? That's our baseline entry. January 1st, 2015, January 1st, 1980 for date of birth, 50% whole person impairment, 100% industrial. That's your baseline entry. Those all will have to be modified. But now we want to go and we want to restore. And what did I said his name was Sammy, right? And I restore, and there is the complete rating that we just saved away on our computer. Now let's say that we want to export that. So we just saved it, we restored it. Now let's say that we want to print it. Again, we have all the information right here. Now I don't have a printer set up here, but if I did, you can see it automatically formats and gives you a view of what the print is going to look like. if you take a careful look at this, you can see that we have the applicant's name, we have the date of birth, we have the date of injury. It's automatically formatted for you. We have the name of the physician, we have the date of the report, we have the ADJ number. We have our notes. This is a standard rating of Dr. Lipton's report with combined value equation. We have the occupational group, 360. We have the rating, part of body, rating string 2, part of body, whole person impairment for each. And then we have the actual rating string, the combined value of 27% with the PD export. And of course, at the bottom, the most important part of the rating, our tagline, CompCalc Plus, the complex made simple. Okay, let's say that you want to email it. What does the CompCalc do to save you time if you want to email this? Well, we just brought it up. Here's our export. The name of the applicant, the name of the doctor, and our notes. It automatically goes out, it formats your email for you with all the information, just like the export for the print, and all you have to do is type in who you want to send it to. Of course, you can see I'm doing this from my ranch this weekend, and what pops up my ranch email address. Okay, what else do I want you to know about the CompCalc rating module? Let's say that you have rated things out and you're not sure. You want to combine, you think Guzman might apply to one string and not to the other, and you want to mix and match, and you want to see how it's going to behave given different combined value equation percentages. Well, you just tap right here and you start adding them. Let's say the first one is going to be 18%. The second, you know what, let's make this easy so that I can show you how the combined value works. I'm going to put these in order. They don't have to be in order, but I'm going to put the largest first. I'm going to put the middle one second. I'm using numbers so I can do the math in my head. And let's go ahead and add one more rating string. And we're going to say this is 10%. How's that? Okay. Now, you can see the combined value says it's 50, but when we add these up, it's 20, it's 30 plus 20 plus 10, that's 60. But with the combined value on these three, it ends up at 50%. It gives you the full amount, and you can play with the average weekly wage or the PD rate. Now, one thing I want you to be aware of on the average weekly wage, it will never, given the date of injury, and we have a date of injury up here of January 1st, 2015, we know the max is $290, and the max average weekly wage for $290 is $435. But what happens when we put in $600? That's more than $435. What happens? Watch what happens. It takes you back to $435. What happens? Because that's the max. It doesn't matter what you put in above. What happens if we put in $900? It takes you back to the max. What happens if we put in $300? Watch what happens now. We're at $290. That should go to $200, and it's going to reduce this by a third, so it's going to be somewhere in the $50,000 range. There we go. $300 for the average weekly wage, $200 for the PD rate at a combined value of 50%, which is $54,250. Now, what I want you to take away from that little scenario is the following. The CompCalc, it doesn't matter if it's permanent disability or if it's temporary disability, it will calculate based on the average weekly wage, never above the max or below the min given the date of injury. It will never screw you over. It will always give you, it's like having the ultimate PD rating chart, indemnity chart, because it automatically gives you the rate given the average weekly wage, but never above the max or below the min. How useful is that? Now let's talk a little bit about the algorithm for the combined value equation. Here's the algorithm for the combined value equation. You get all of the largest. You subtract that from 1, and you take that percentage and multiply it by the second. You get that point, the second number, and you add that to all of the largest, and you subtract that from 1, and you multiply that by the third number. Now let's go through this real quick. I'm going to do this in my head. You get 30%. So you take 30%, you set that aside. You get all of that. You subtract 30% from the number 1, and what is that? 70%. You multiply that by the 20, the next number. you get 70% of the next number. How much is that? That's 14%. So now you're up to 34. I'm sorry, up to 44. That's 30 plus 14. You subtract 44 from 1, and you end up with what? 55. You multiply 55%, and you're going to round it up to 6. 55% of 10%, which is 6%. So you end up adding 30 plus 14 is 44 plus 6 is 50, and that's how the combined value equation works. Okay. I think that pretty much covers everything that you should be aware of. You can flip back and forth, be aware of that. In the rating module. Okay, if you have any questions or comments, especially if you have any thoughts or ideas of how I can improve the CompCalc, by all means, give me a call, because this has been a 4-year journey, and I cannot thank the people that were involved in this. Not only from the development, the gentleman, I've had 2 guys working with me for the last 2 years on this project. The first 2 years I went alone. The last 2 years I've had 2 gentlemen, and they've made my life so much better. Certainly, if you go to support and training, and you go to, if you go up here to help, and you go down to about, you're going to see the development team. And I really have to take my hat off to Bobby, Robert Gooden, and then also Alex. I couldn't have done, I didn't know UWP, Universal Windows Platform, and certainly this could not have been accomplished without their help. So I take my hat off to them. They handled all the UI, and as far as the algorithms, those were my algorithms, but it couldn't have been brought together in a final package without their assistance, and I just really appreciate everything they've done. Also, and I right now, depending on the version, I have 16 to 24 people on each of the development teams, the beta test teams. And these are attorneys, by and large, and some adjusters as well, who are involved in testing the beta versions. If you're interested in doing that, give me a call, and we'll sign you up. I have a minimum requirement of experience and understanding, but by and large, these individuals have been responsible for coming up with all the ideas that make the CompCalc what it is right now. We have some great ideas for our 2018 release that we're working on right now. So anyway, just to summarize, the PD rating module is probably the easiest rating program in workers' compensation, bar none. It's 100% accurate. It's been tested over and over again. The algorithms work. If you have any questions, or more importantly, if you have a comment, just give me a call directly and or send me an email, and I would greatly appreciate that. Okay, thanks so much. Hopefully that was helpful.
That concludes our presentation on rating with the CompCalc. The CompCalc is also available for the iPhone, iPad and Mac computers at the App Store, and for Android phones and tablets at Google Play, and of course at the Microsoft Store for Windows 10 users. The CompCalc is an estimator, not a calculator. The user of the CompCalc is instructed to verify all data with either a competent workers' compensation attorney and/or the DEU. It is not the intent of the Law Office of Richard Montalvo to provide legal advice, representation, nor create an attorney-client relationship with the user of the CompCalc.